Hi everyone, thanks for joining me. You're watching In Deep on the Delta. This is the weekly Delta fishing report for the week of April 28th. A lot going on out here, so we're going to get right into the report. But before we do, I want to give a shout out for a public service announcement. Again, I'm going to put up a picture here that is not a pretty picture, and this is Alan Fong's boat. Alan had a mishap this week, and he was on the way to the ramp. Looked in his rearview mirror, saw smoke coming out of his boat, pulled over. His boat was on fire. Luckily, fire department was close by. Fire department came out, put the fire out on the roadside. Alan and his partner weren't hurt, so thank God for that. But I just wanted to mention that a fire on a boat is not a good thing, and it's more common than you would think, especially usually it's going to be around where your gas tanks and your batteries are, and the fire department thinks that there was a spark on the battery, that maybe Alan had just filled his tank up with gas and there may have been a little residual gas somewhere that caught the spark and ignited, and boy, it was on quick. It happens fast, and if you're on the water when that happens, and Alan was only a few minutes away from the launch, if that happens when you're on the water, you really need to know where your fire extinguisher is and have it accessible. So make sure, for your own safety, to make sure you've got a fire extinguisher and make sure it's up to date. So with that, let's just be happy that Alan's okay and no one got hurt, and hopefully it's a lesson for all of us. So take that to the bank and make sure your fire extinguisher is in good shape. All right, river conditions out here are perfect. We got, I'm going to say 65, 66, 67 degree water temperature right now. By the time the weekend comes around, if the weatherman is right and we're having 75 degree weather, it's going to be pushing 70 degrees by next week. So water temperatures are great. Clarity is a little bit too clear for my likings. A lot of places that I've been out here, it's been 8-10 feet of visibility. Other people have found some water that's a little bit stained. So if you can find that 4 to 6 feet of visibility, you're probably going to be in good shape. Let's start off with the stripers, and I'm going to try to be quick because it's a great report. Everybody seems to be catching fish on any kind of technique that you're using. I talked to Jeff Suhu from Suhu Sport Fishing. He's had a fantastic week. He's not only getting good numbers but big fish. Jeff has good quality fish. A lot, he's getting some fish, some teeners. That's what I mean by big fish. They're not all cookie cutter, 24, 22 inch fish. Nice fish in the mix. Jeff's been spooning, and he has been using live bait, drifting live bait. I know a lot of people have been out there trolling. They're catching fish. I know the guys that are throwing jerk baits are catching a lot of fish. They're not catching the bigger fish. If you want the bigger fish, make sure you're throwing a glide bait, and it's just good. So if you're a striper guy, go out and fish right now. Who knows how long they're going to be in the system. If you're a bass guy thinking about striper bass, this may be the time to go out and fish stripers. The bass fishing is good, but it's a lot more spotty. I think the stripers are much more consistent. With that, let's get into the Delta report for largemouth bass. And I guess the report would be, if you were out last weekend, it was very crowded. There were 6 different tournaments going on, and I'm going to mention a couple of these because it's going to lead right into what I'm going to be talking about, what I've been seeing. So let's start off with the new gen tournament, and I think it was one with 55 pounds, 55 and some change, 2-day tournament, and it was a pro-am. So 2 days pro-am, and it was combined weight, and 55 something won the tournament. Here's the big news on that. Second day, Bill Talley and Jig Ben pulled out a 39.37 pound limit on the Delta. And guess what? I got a call from Bill, and he gave me the rundown on everything that they did, and I'm going to go over what Bill told me. He was a pretty happy fella, obviously, but and I have the permission to relay this to you guys. Nothing special, but I just want to once again talk about how these guys got 39 pounds, and it's nothing different than what everyone else out there is doing. So Bill is the amateur on the boat. Jig is the pro. Jig is from Oregon, not real familiar with the Delta. So Bill and Jig got together Saturday morning, said, well, what's our plan? Bill asked Jig if he had been catching any big ones, and Jig had a 6-pounder the day before, and he said, well, let's start off in that area. They got out there, and they were looking around, and very close to the area where Jig had a 6-pounder on Friday, Bill found a flat, and this area was a flat with 2 feet of water on it, and it had an abrupt drop off down to about 14 feet, and that's where the fish were. They were holding in the deep water, and they were sticking their nose up, probably thinking about coming into the shallow water, but they were positioning their boat out in the deep water and fishing that ledge, that deep ledge. The other thing that Bill said, they never used more than about 1 gallon of gas all day. So check this out. They position their boat off the bank, offshore, so they can fish that ledge. Jig is using a Cinco black blue flake, and I think he was using it wacky, no weight. I could be wrong on that, but he was using a black and blue flake Cinco. Bill was using a drop shot. They made the first pass, and they were just dead stick. They did not, 30 seconds, just leave it there, move it a foot, leave it there another 30 seconds, and the fish were taking it on absolute dead stick. First pass, I think Jig got a 9/18 and a 7. They decided to go back for a second pass. Jig got a 7-pounder. Now, Bill's catching fish with his drop shot. He's getting some 2 and 3 pound fish. He put a fish in the boat. I think it was around 2.5, 3 pounds. So I think they had 4 fish at that time. They decided to go a third pass on that same bank, and Jig picks up a 9.47. So now they got their 5 fish limit, and they're feeling pretty good about themselves. Fish a little bit more, bite kind of dies. They move not a big move, but they moved off of that bank, fished, probably tide related, weren't catching many fish. Bill says, Jig, let's go back for number 4, and we're going to get one more big fish off that bank, then we're going to go in and win this tournament. Went back, sure enough, the 4th time on that same bank, the 4th pass, they get a 6.5 pounder, which totaled out. They had a 9/18, a 7 something, a 7 something, a 9.47, and a 6.5 for 39.37 pounds. The moral of the story is they didn't do anything different than all of us do probably every day we're out here. They were just a little more patient. They found a bank where the fish were, and they stayed on that bank, and they fished very slow. So let that be a key to you. Also, another key, I think it was just last week, I reported that a weekend angler had a 36-pound bag. He didn't get them on worms, but he got a 10, an 11, and whatever else it took to get his 36-pound bag, but they were all on the same bank. So if you get a big fish or a couple of big fish, that could be an area you want to fish hard. There could be a lot of big fish, especially if you have that deeper water. So far as the big bag last week came on chatterbaits, everyone at the New Gen tournament was talking about just no chatterbait bite. They tried to force feed them, and there wasn't a big chatterbait bite. There was 17 20-pound bags in the 2 days at the New Gen, and a lot of the guys that had the big weights one day would go from 20 pounds one day to under 10 pounds. I think one guy had a 20-pound sack and had 4 pounds the next day. One guy had 20 pounds and had 7 pounds. So it was very spotty. So you guys that are out there having trouble, it's not you, it's just being in the right spot at the right time. And that leads me to a couple more tournaments that I went and checked out the weigh-in, and they were club tournaments. And we'll start off with some of the guys from we'll start off with the Redwood Empire Bass Club. They were out there. They're from up around Sonoma area. The guys really are not Delta sticks. There was about 12 of them. They came out, found tough fishing, and a 12-boat tournament, I think, was won with 10 pounds. That's more of what you could probably expect for the average angler. These guys are good anglers. They just don't know the Delta as well as a lot of the guys say maybe in the new gen. The big deal on that, I want to congratulate, let's see, I know Ian got a 4.9. It was his first tournament. That's his personal best, first time on the Delta, so congratulations to Ian. Mike got a 6.11. So those were good fish for guys that don't fish the Delta a whole lot, and I'm sure they're going to be thinking about coming out and try to repeat that. With that being said, I've been out and I've been doing pretty darn good, but I have the option of coming out at the right times. I'm not fishing tournament schedules, so early in the morning I've been doing very good, and I'm talking about you better be up at 4, you better be at the dock about 4:45 and on your spot at the change of light, because that's when the bite is, and it only lasts for about a half an hour. I've been getting anywhere from 5 to 8 fish in that half an hour, 45 minute time frame, and I'm getting them on topwater bubble walkers and poppers. I'm not getting anything on chatterbaits. I'm not getting anything on buzz baits. I'm also throwing some big wake baits. I'm throwing my Mikey. I'm throwing the Explorer Gill by Bait Sanity, and I'm trying to get that big fish. Not happening. All of my big fish are coming on worms, and that's going to be the trick for next week, is just slow fish worms. Second would be drop shot. After that, it's your choice. A lot of guys are picking fish up punching still, but there wasn't a big reaction bite last week. It may change this week, but start off fishing slow and move from there. A lot of the guys from the Empire Club were fishing jerk baits. They didn't get any bass on them, largemouth bass on them, but they caught a lot of stripers on jerk baits, just fishing the regular bass looking spots. So take that into consideration too. It's Thursday. Tomorrow I'm going to try to finish up a video that I've been doing, and it's on another way to rig a worm. And this particular rig, I know you guys watched the Ted rig deal. It's kind of a modified reverse double shimmy Ted rig, Steve rig. I haven't fished this rig a lot, but the last couple weeks, I'm telling you, this is the rig that's killing it, and you need to watch this video. It'll be called the reverse Cinco trick or something like that, and it's not going to cost you a dime. You guys have nothing to lose to watch this video, everything to gain. So I want you to check that out. That's I guess a hit for the video that I'll be uploading tomorrow. With that, thank you guys for watching. Go out there, fish slow, fish worms, keep black and blue on, black and red and green pumpkin, drop shot. You're going to catch some fish. Thanks for watching. Make sure you subscribe, and I will see you guys on the water.